by the World Health Organization for performing such surgery so that we preserve and save human lives. Because if we take refuge behind culture, we will then perpetuate gender-based violence and prejudices against our fellow human beings, who for now we classify as women. And so as we gather here today and taking a stand, you not only liberate women from oppression, but you also liberate men from oppression. As Nelson Mandela taught us, the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Close quote. This Is Not in My Name campaign will actively demonstrate men's commitment to the importance of their roles in building individuals, families, their communities, and society in general. It also communicates the important message that the health and welfare of our nation is under threat so long as gender inequalities, discrimination, violence, rape, and poor health-seeking behaviors of men are perpetuated. Women are exposed to higher risks of HIV infection when they feel that they cannot even negotiate condom use with their male partners. To further add salt to the wound, some men believe that they can be cured of HIV by sleeping with a virgin or a baby. These are all prejudices. And in our interactions with our friends, relatives, neighbors, fellow workers, we must engage in deliberations and discussions over these issues and develop means and ways of removing these barriers. The combined aims of the National Men's Rally should not only be confined to the event of today. However, they should be a catalyst to ensure that the men in society become active participants in championing the betterment of women's lives, including their economic development and empowerment. As you are aware, gender inequality has material base to the extent that women who have no independent economic means, as it was the case in the past, have to be adjuncts or dependent to men. And this is also the basis of this sense of supremacy and superiority which populates the minds of men. And that which you learn, you can unlearn. And we must, in our deliberations, find means and ways of ensuring that we unlearn these prejudices. As the old saying goes, those who feast on the fields of others are often forced into gestures of friendship they don't desire. As such, women are by mere accidents of nature still born into gender construct that subjugates them to men. And yet, historically, it has not always been that way. In the evolution of human beings, the system of polyandry had women as leaders in society. And mother rights, in terms of ownership of the offsprings, were ingrained in society. It was much, much later, through this division of labor, that men became dominant. And as the popular song goes, they started composing songs which says and extols such superiority. And they say it is a man's world. But of course, as we learn, even our language, which contains these inherent prejudices, has to continue to improve, to recognize the reality that nature reveals to us. The rally must help unite all South Africans, all South African men, behind a pledge calling for all men to be actively at the forefront of curbing the spread of gender-based violence and to commit their support for women and children. It must mobilize to take up the challenge of testing regularly for HIV and other ailments, and to commit to protecting themselves and their loved ones from HIV infection, and to take the lead in changing negative social norms perpetuated in the name of culture and religion. And hence, it is important for us to echo the words of Patrick Shai when he says, "It is wonderful to be a human being. It is terrible to be a man." Today should not be the end of our efforts, but the beginning. And we should fan out in small groups to engage and reach out to our friends, to our families, to our relatives, to our communities, to our fellow workers, and continue to engage in these discussions to create a more enlightened and understanding South African community, free of prejudice, free of gender-based violence, free of discrimination. And I thank you, Amandla.
As men of South Africa today, August 24, 2013, in Johannesburg Stadium, Gauteng, we acknowledge the damage caused by acts of violence committed by some men in our communities, affirming that violence against women and children constitutes a violence of the rights and fundamental freedoms of men and children enshrined in our Constitution. We pledge, therefore, that not to look away, not to be bystanders, and not to be silent, to play a role in our personal, professional, and leadership capacities to stop rape of all kinds, sexual violence, the killing and abuse of women and children, domestic violence of all kinds, abuse and violence of people with disabilities, and violence of all kinds. To play an active role in ridding the society of harmful practices such as forced marriages and trafficking of women and children. To foster a culture of respect for women, persons with disabilities, children, and other men, and role models to young boys in our communities. To use our networks to engage our friends, colleagues, relatives, and encourage them to actively take a stand against violence and the abuse of women and children. To those who have lost loved ones in the hands of criminals, and pledge that no women, no children shall be harmed in our name, not in our name, not in our name, not in our name. Amadoda, 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 Inzimbi, 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 Amadoda, not in my name, not in our name, not in your name. I thank you.
I think a truly special thanks must go to Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe for leading SANAC in so many multiple ways, but for today making a speech that we have never heard any president or deputy president make in any one of the 41 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. I want to thank all of the people behind the Brothers for Life campaign. This is not just an event of one day today. This is 5-6 years of work by so many hundreds of people, local leaders, men who are brave to stand up and build together a campaign like this. In Brothers for Life, in the Sonke Gender Justice, in the SANAC men's sector, and I'll take the liberty to mention Reverend Bafana Kumalo, Richard Delate, Mbulelo Jasi, and all of the leaders in the Brothers for Life campaign. I'd like to thank today the NGOs and the partners who've been providing services here today. A special thanks to USAID for providing the funding not only for today, but for the 5 years of Brothers for Life. I want to say a word on our own behalf at SANAC, and I'll be brief. 2 million South Africans have died from AIDS in the last 2 decades. That is a staggering statistic by any stretch of the imagination. We can be very grateful that under the leadership of the Minister of Health today, more than 2 million South Africans are on antiretroviral treatment. I would like to thank all the men who came here today to say, "Not in my name." Those who came here to say, "Not in my name." And those who came here to say, "Not in my name." For evil to thrive needs good men to remain silent. Siyabonga, siyabulela, riyaleboga. I thank you.
Dads in the picture. Bikers. Thank you. Ngetobe niyenzile nayo rana trainings and workshops all over South Africa. Thank you very much. Neo Matsunyane, thank you very much, my friend.